Great. So, Sali, it's a pleasure really, getting in touch with you. And finally, we are doing this, podcast together. It's like a collab, right, between your podcast and my podcast. So, there's something very interesting about your profile that you talk a lot about self-love and soul coaching, right? I'm sure a lot of people, they have heard about business coaching, how to speak, public speaking coaching, and there's so many, other coaching, mechanisms, but I have never heard about this self love and soul coaching. So how does that work, and how did you come up with this idea?
Well, firstly, thank you, Ammar, for that little introduction and getting into what I really want to talk about. And also, I'm really grateful that we are here together because just so that the listeners and the viewers know that we have been trying to collaborate and get to this
Yes.
point so we could talk to you guys about ourselves. And so here we are. And let's get straight into that question. And so we can kickstart this podcast with
Yes.
Ammar here. Let's talk about self-love, and soul coaching. So I think if I could just explain it in a nutshell, Amma, what soul coaching is just it's life coaching, but it's more centered around how your heart is doing, how you're doing within, what your inner calling is, what your inner purpose is. So it really works at the power within you as the human that you are, rather than just going over the surface of like what the actual issue is. We go deeper within the person's power of realizing within them that what is lacking. So I think it's just to do as I said in a nutshell, we in our daily lives we go through our lives and we don't realize that we are lacking within us this connection within. And as ancient humans we were always very connected within, right? So a lot of these places where we find we're not growing, whether it's our workplace or our home or wherever, we find that I don't think that I can do my best. It always comes back to your soul, and we all have a soul and we all
Yes.
very connected. So I
Correct.
think for me personally, getting there to the core of how a person is, it all requires self-love first, and that's how the journey begins, and that's how I can say.
Right. That is very, very interesting because in few of my talks I have always spoken about understanding how awesome it is to be you, because sometimes we forget
Mm,
this, that how awesome it
mm,
is and how blessed we are at times. So Salia, there must be a moment when you thought, okay, this concept is something that you can actually talk about and you can actually help people you know in
mm.
this journey of self love and finding their own, let's say, talking
Yes.
within their self and finding their soul. So when was the moment when you thought about this whole concept, and then you said, you know what, I'm going to coach people, I'm going to help people? What was the moment, when you feel this is the moment I have to do this?
It was this year actually, and it was during COVID when it newly hit us. And I always had this feeling all my life that I had a bit of a intuitive personality where I could understand people at a deeper level. I could be there for my friends. And then I did realize that I was always there for others, but I never really made the journey for my own self.
Right.
And so I went on a self-love journey. A few knee-jerking experiences got me to a place where I was spiritually awakened, and then I went on the self-love journey, and then I realized when I embrace the power within me, as in give the same love and affection and care that I give to the other people in my life, and use my intuition for myself, I realized my power within, my purpose. And the purpose was very clear to me that I have to be in some way be there for other human beings. And communication was a big thing for me. Uh, and so I went along the way of searching within me, and I found soul coaching as something that connected deeply, deeply within. And here I am.
Right. That's very interesting that you have said that you started this, or you had this moment during the COVID times when we were in the lockdown, and there's a
Yes.
news that people are depressed, the stress level is on the rise, and there's this
Hmm.
domestic violence increasing, and people are just getting frustrated. So so now you have been coaching, I'm sure, a lot of people and I would assume it is mostly online, right? So
Hmm.
how do people actually find you, and how do you coach them, how it starts for someone who's looking for this kind of healing, I would say.
The way I operate is all online, so anyone globally can reach out to me, and if you just have to put it like that. Other than that, it's as easy as just sending me a message on my Instagram, which is the growing space where I am
Yes,
growing as a soul
it
coach.
is.
It
Yes,
is a very uh, interesting space for coaches.
sure.
Instagram, and you would find a lot of coaches there, and everyone is healing. And the most interesting fact that I would say, Ammar, is that during COVID, there has been a huge splurge of people who need the healing and people who are ready to give the healing. So those people who didn't believe too much in themselves that they could give that healing, they have stood up, and the
Right.
people who did not know how to ask for the healing have reached out like desperation. So there has been a huge connection here because of all people realizing that we as I said before, our conscious brain is always acting and we're doing what we're doing, but we don't give any attention to our subconscious programming. And so that's what all these coaches are doing. They're working at the subconscious level with all these people, and that's what I do too. There's a lot of brain work in there too. And so what we do is we help people realize the power within them by
Mhm.
going to the subconscious brain and getting them into it. So yeah, so Instagram is where I am. And yeah, I believe that it's been so interesting during COVID that everyone can just work online. And so the availability of a service or a product is not just based on one area, it is global now, and anyone can get it.
Yes, I totally understand that, and I think this
Mm,
online coaching is something that is, it doesn't have any boundaries, and it is possible that you can do it everywhere worldwide, and people can actually reach you. And like you said, there are so
mm,
many coaches now out there who are, I will use the word, claiming that they can coach about this, about that. And I've
mm,
come across many coaches who actually have no prior, let's say, experience of, let's say, business coaching, or let's say,
mm, mm.
public speaking. So Salia,
Yeah,
how one can, let's say, differentiate between the authenticity here? So there are so many coaches, the imposter syndrome. So there's so
yeah,
many
yeah.
coaches who try to
Yes,
fake it, right?
yeah,
I've seen your
yeah.
profile. You do a lot of work every
Mm,
single day. You put in a lot of hours into
mm,
this, but there are so many people out there who might not be, the word I will use here, real, for example, for that subject matter.
mm,
So how one can, differentiate, if I'm the user and I'm looking for guidance,
mm.
mentorship, coaching, healing, for example, how I can differentiate between this, the real
Okay.
and the not so real thing.
I completely understand where this is coming from, and I have come across people saying the same thing, and I actually get coached with a coach too, who is a soul coach, and she is helping me shape myself. So, in our conversations, we have come across this kind of a conversation, which you've said as well, that there are few people out there
Yeah.
who are really not, the real coaches, and they are behaving as the coaches, or they're just there for not the actual purpose that's from within.
Yes.
All I can say from that space, Ammar, is that in any sector, in any trade, in any kind of industry, I think there are always a handful of people who are
Yes.
not there for connected to the intention or the purpose or the vision of the business, or they're not connected to the same goals that that business or that company or that industry has. And so it's what, as a soul coach, what you become, what it gets you to realize is that you will face all kinds of people in this life, and that so this is the same thing I tell my clients also. So before choosing me, I say this thing to them as well. It's not just coming from me as a coach, because and also I'm a human being too, so this is how
Yes.
I operate. And so I say it to the other person. I don't come from a place of advice. I come from a place of, this is what I do. If it works for you, well and good. So what works for me is that wherever you go, you will face all kind of people with high egos, people who are not connected within, people who will say bad things to you or create problems for you. All you need to do is be so centered within that you have done your work within, which is always being positive, always being grateful, and always coming from a space of knowing that all that matters is that what you think of you, right? And so all those energies around you who are not meant for you will eventually show in some way that you will know that this is right or this is wrong for me. So you come to this really connected energy space when within my work frame, where anyone can realize that with just feeling the energy within themselves, that I like this person or I don't like this person. And then you don't have to go and tell them I don't like you, or
Yeah.
I don't
Mhm.
want you as my coach. You can just feel the energy and go towards who you feel. So with choosing a coach, in simple words, go with the energy within you. If you feel deep within that there's even a little bit of doubt, don't go with that coach. But if deep within you feel this connection, this need, this alignment, for most of these clients, I felt that they feel this alignment. It's like, I wasn't ready when I was in my 30s. I wasn't ready in my 40s. And when I turned 50, I had to be in this situation where I had to find a coach like you. And I was like, I wasn't preaching the same message all these years. And now I'm preaching that message now. So that alignment happens. So the idea is the authentic ones will always be saying, they'll be coming on Instagram, showing up, telling more and more about their real stories, sharing their hearts intents every single day on Instagram. That's what I do. That's what all the other good coaches do. And that's the whole idea of authenticity, as you were mentioning, Ammar. We have to, as coaches, every day show up and say, especially in this online world, and say, this is me, this is what I do. It might sound to another person like, why do you do this every day? But it's the very fact of this authentic, being authentic, right? For you don't know which human being out there at what time connects and gets that
Yes,
message on another day, right?
that's right.
So
Yes.
a lot can be said about here, Ammar. And I think what you do, Ammar, I think this is a great question because it connects me to what you do as well. You are a speaker amongst all other things. So you do understand the power of opening up your, as we say, the throat chakra in our energy
Mhm.
space. It's so important to voice out how you need to deliver that message to the other person and connect with them in that communicative space. So could you tell us, Ammar, a bit about yourself as a speaker, as a co-founder, sorry, as a CEO of
Yeah.
the Final Rentals company, and tell us a bit more about you, Ammar.
Right. So born and raised, in Pakistan, and then moved to the UAE. I've spent, I always, divide my life into two parts. The first part is the introvert part because I'm a tech guy, right? So for the first
Yes.
11 years, I have been a super introvert, working in my incubator, not coming out and just working, like crazy. And then what happened when I was working, as an entrepreneur in the tech world, I actually
Mm,
went to one event in 2017 in November, right, where they invited me as a speaker, and I was like, oh my god, I have to now speak in front of the people. And I
yeah.
was like, okay, you know what, let's do this. So that was the first time when I was mic'd up and I was on the stage, okay, and I didn't know what to do because I had no idea what to do, right. I actually did
Mm.
not go to the stage. I was speaking on the ground at the same level as the audience because I did not know what to do, right. And then I started
Mm,
speaking and I realized one thing. The moment
mm,
I started speaking, the introvert inside me takes a backseat and
mm,
something changes. Something changed. And I was impromptu and I was just talking my heart out. I was nervous, shivering, but I was
mm,
talking non-stop and I
mm,
had no problem with that. And after the
mm,
session was done, we had the lunch break and people came to me and they were like, man, we had goosebumps. I mean, we were shaken, with your presentation because it was so natural. It didn't come out of the PPTs. And then I
mm.
realized, man, this is something I want to do. So fast forward till now, I have spoken, at many different stages, 50 plus, presentations online, more than 100 presentations in real world. Audience sizes are from 100 to 1,000, and it's worldwide. And I realized one thing, that if you're honest with what you're talking about, if you're honest with the subject, and you know exactly what you're talking about, and you're ready to say, I don't know about this, if there's a question that you don't know, say, I don't know. I mean, we're not Superman, right? Not supposed to know everything, right? So that's how even Superman, doesn't. So the thing is, that really made me comfortable in this zone, and so far it has been really good. This is something that I discovered from inside, that hey, I had this thing, about putting something into perspective, or what we do
Yes.
into perspective, and then the speaking got converted, or let's say elevated into mentoring. I've been mentoring a lot of startups. We check out the business plans, the tech stack, and judging different competitions. So it has really grown into this, branch out into this mentoring, and judging the startups. As an entrepreneur, I was always an entrepreneur since 2005. I have my own business, don't have a CV. And while I was working in tech industry, especially for car rentals, uh, my love for cars actually grew, and then my love for customer service grew also, because I could see the pain points of the customers when they rent a car. So after working for almost 11 years with companies like Budget, Thrifty, Europe Car, National Alamo, all these companies, I founded Final Rentals in December 2017. And uh, and so far it has been a great journey of just being honest. We are a very honest brand. We are very honest about things. If we screw it up, we say we screwed up, we're sorry. What we can do for you, please tell me what you want, right? And we are just very honest, and I think that honesty has really been our USP.
That's it. That's it. If you connect with the human element, we all are. We all have it, and I think anyone would be okay if you are honest. It's just coming from that space of, as you said before, of being authentic,
Yeah.
and that shows. That just shows, as you said, like we operate authentically and we believe in honesty, and that has become your brand. That has become your patent. That has become what you are. So
Yes.
now you've done it so many times that you are known for that. That you are ethical, that you have that you have that way of reflecting to others. So how would you say that, how hard it is to be an entrepreneur in this field that you are in?
It is very difficult. First of all, it's very difficult, to be an entrepreneur from the word go, right? And it is even more difficult to be the expat entrepreneur, because we come out
Mm,
of our countries and we try to make a living, right, in a different
yeah.
country, with different laws, different people, with ever
Mm,
changing environment. And especially Dubai is a place where people change every single day. New people come with a Dubai dream, and a
yeah.
lot of people are going back and they're like, oh, this place is not for me, by the way. And then new
Yeah.
people come in, so it's very difficult. It has been a long journey of sleeping in the gardens, eating a hot dog a day, to driving my BMW, and having a better life, socio economical paradigm shift. So it has been a very long journey. But one thing that I'm very proud of, not the numbers, not the money. I think in all these ups and downs, I have been very sincere to the cause. Like whatever we do it very sincerely. We do it with the honest, attempt, to create something better. And every single day we make a better product. Our product is, improving day by day, and I'm very happy about it. This whole journey, makes me very happy.
This is so important, Mar, because you come from a place of leadership. And I can understand there are a lot of people depending on you, on your voice, of what you say, your final word. And if you come from this space of understanding them as the human they are, it will help you grow. And this is it. This is the new world we are living in now, too. I mean, post COVID, I feel a lot of companies will have to change their structure and their way of being, and the way of like that whole hierarchy system of like, and the whole thing about, follow me, otherwise, you
Mhm.
get fired kind of attitudes. And also the way other companies deal with one company just to,
Yes.
not really be truthful in that way. Like you can be honest company, but the other company is not,
Yes.
uh, following that kind of a vision. So
Yes.
that is also a learning curve. Now, in my podcast, what I tend to do is ask a question, which I'm going to be asking you now, Ammar, and
Mhm.
this might take you down memory lane.
Right.
And this is to do with, if we were to go to the 10-year-old, or let's say the 12-year-old Ammar, were you always so pumped up to always look at the brightest side of things and come out of the most weirdest, hardest situations that life presented you? Were you always like that?
So I still remember the 12 years old me, right? So how I was, because my name starts with A and my last name is also A, Ammar Akhtar, right? So I was used to sit right in front in the class. So the front bench, right?
Yeah.
And the guy
I
who
used
has
to
to
envy the
and the
I used to
guy
envy the
who
alphabet
has to
kids.
make sure that he does the homework right. Imagine, Pakistani schools, they check every day. It's a strict thing.
Yes,
And I'm the
yes.
eldest. We are seven siblings. I'm the eldest, right?
Mm,
While father was away, making a living, and we lived with the mom, right? So
mm,
I
mm.
was this guy who always sort of understood one thing, that okay, I'm not going to do anything
Mm.
ordinary out of this life. I'm sure I'm going to do
Yes.
something. I didn't know what I'm going to do. Honestly, I didn't know what it was,
Mm,
but I always knew that there's something that I'm going to bring to the table, right? Uh, I still remember, meeting Benazir Bhutto, the prime minister. So it was a wedding reception of my cousin, right? And
mm.
she came to the reception, and
Yeah.
and I was there, and she just took me, in her lap, and she said, "What's your name?" I said, "Amar." "Oh, very good name. What are you gonna do when you grow up?" I said, "I'm gonna become a prime minister." So I still remember, the little
Yeah.
old
Yeah.
me and
Yeah.
all those memories. So yeah, I always knew something, that this is something that I'm going to do, right? That will help us come out of poverty, that will help us become a better
Mm,
family. But I didn't know what
mm,
it was until I was 22, and when I moved to Dubai, I found my purpose. That was being an
mm,
entrepreneur.
mm, mm. Beautiful. Beautiful. Like, do you think having role models around you while you're growing up, somebody who's doing something similar to what your purpose is today, did that help you, or did you have anybody?
So until I had my first internship, right? Until I had
Yeah.
my first internship in Microsoft, I honestly didn't know much about, let's say, the people. I knew about the
Yeah.
brands like Google, Yahoo that time, of course, very
Mm,
big.
mm,
I used to envy those
mm.
brands. Microsoft, wow, Bill Gates. Bill Gates was
Yeah.
was was known by all, right, in Pakistan. Not Steve Jobs so much, of course, that time in
Mm,
1990s, right, early
mm,
90s.
mm, mm.
So he
Yeah.
was always this role model. Oh man, you want to become Bill Gates if you're a tech guy. And then when I
Yeah.
started my internship, my first boss, he was from UPenn, Ivy League University, UPenn, University of Pennsylvania, Wharton School of Business. He coached me a lot. He told me what the word entrepreneur means and how it spells. And then he told me,
Ah.
"Oh, you're not born to become an engineer. You'll end up coding all your life. No, you are born to become an entrepreneur." So he used to throw
Mm,
me in the fire. Go this meeting. You will head the meeting.
mm,
Imagine a 20 years old guy, and he's supposed to lead the meeting. What's
mm,
going on here, right? And today, when I
mm,
realize all those things, I'm like, oh, thank you so very much, for all those moments, because
mm,
they really helped me out. And even today, if you ask me, I think he's the role model that I have, not Steve Jobs, not Bill Gates, because he was
mm,
my first boss, the first guy I reported to as an intern,
mm,
right? And the
mm,
coaching that he provided is still today, I think, is priceless. They don't teach
mm.
you all this in universities, right? They don't, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is
Mm,
something that is still I learned from that. Still, there are so many
mm,
elements there that I take the feather out, and I'm like, okay, today this is what I learned from that thing that I
mm,
had like 15 years ago. Imagine, right?
mm,
So
mm,
he was a person that really, let's say, the word I would use, polished me as a guy coming out of this, poverty, family system, coming out of it. And he said, "Don't worry about it. There's so much to learn out there, and you know there's so much to know about the world." So yeah, and I
mm,
mean, I think that really helps, and that's why I tell all the guys, who come to me as an intern, the guys
mm,
who are doing something, starting. I tell them, learn from, when you are having your first job, try to learn
mm.
as much as possible. It might be hostile
Yeah.
environment. It
Mm,
might not be as comfortable as I had, thanks to God, but learn as much as
mm.
you can. And today you have this information resource out there. There's Udemy, there's YouTube. Just learn
Yeah,
whatever
there's
you
so
want.
much, isn't it? They have
Exactly.
so much these
We didn't
days.
have
Like
that.
they
Yeah.
we were so dependent on schooling and everything for it and for that information to come to us. And when you get role models like that, when you get people like that in your life, you just hang on to them. Like you're like, I just want to stay with you. I want to know more and more, because I think those were the places where we got our that deeper insight kind of knowledge, that we wanted all the bits within us to come to a closure. Like, what is all of this? Need to be somebody, but I don't know who it is. And yes, there's Bill Gates, but what's the middle? Like, where can I start?
Yes.
Can I be? So those kind of people, they look at you and they say, yes, you can be. The world is your oyster. Those kind of things. So I think that's what you would be applying to that kind of vision of how to be and take care of other people. Firstly, I think I understand three things about you right now through your story. Is one, that being the eldest of seven,
Hmm.
then having this this ability to be in like techie things, and then finding a role model, and then wanting to ask him questions without, because even asking questions is a big thing, that you as a kid knew that you're supposed to ask those questions. You had no hesitation. If you
Yeah.
never asked those questions, he would have never answered those questions and never found that spark within you if you never put up your hand. So good on you, that little you that stood up. And now you're applying the same kind of ideas with your people now, the company that you lead, the people that you lead, the speakers, that's why the speaking place spaces that you go to, and the people you talk to, because you've always been carrying a number of people together with this vision, because that one human being helped you with that kind of vision, right?
Absolutely. And it's so crazy that how long it can go, right? Something that I
Mm.
have done like 15 years ago, I still can learn from that. So I just try to make sure that people who work with me in the organization, we have this thing called where we allow people to speak. So we have the speaking even within ourselves. Mostly we have
Yes.
remote teams, but people,
Yeah.
I just want to break the ice. You can talk
Yeah.
about anything that, oh, I love my cat so much. Why do you do that? Please tell us more
Mm.
about it. Even such topics, but just trying to break
Mm.
the ice and trying to coach people if I can. Because the thing is, I always believe that legacy is not something, leaving millions for the people to spend after you die. Legacy is something that you leave inside people.
Beautiful.
So they
Beautiful.
have this thing inside them. So even when you're
Yeah.
not there anymore, they can use those things. They can use those elements. If they have learned something from you, they can take it forward. Because money will
Yeah.
end someday, but when you learn something, it is for the lifetime, and you can give it to other people as well.
That's true. That's true. And as you say on your Instagram, it says working hard to make this world a better place. So it's beautiful. Like, it's like this, you have all this, like you're CEO of Final Rentals, and you have this ability to go around the spaces and you speak, and you're all these entrepreneur. But at the same time, to remember, always to remind yourself that about that global human footprint that you're leaving behind, right? It's beautiful to remember that. And if you lead a team like that, that's wonderful. And that comes back to soul coaching as well. It's the similar kind of a vision. If you're connected with your soul, you would be applying that to whatever field, whether it's music, whether it's any other kind of art, or it's just what you're doing in your business. It's if you a person understands the human calling within themselves, they know that any obstacle, anything they face, they will face it because they know within themselves the power of positivity, of always carrying people forward, and that don't give up. That when it's the most dire
Yeah,
circumstance,
exactly.
that is where you are learning the most. It's just about switching from saying, oh my God, this is all happening to me, or going into this, I'm the observer and I'm going to look at what I'm learning from here, isn't it?
No, no, absolutely. You're 100% right. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes you need that push, right? As an
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, and I would say any person. And I have always had this mantra
Hmm.
that I always tell my people, that entrepreneurship is not about owning a business.
Hmm.
Please don't get into that trap that if I own a business, I'm an entrepreneur. Even a guy
Yeah.
who makes coffee for you in the office and makes you
Yeah.
happy is an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can be an
Yeah.
entrepreneur and think and have that entrepreneurial thinking, the high impact thinking.
Yes.
That what
Yes.
impact I leave for the world. I think that thinking is the entrepreneurial thinking. Otherwise, we all are nothing but businessmen. Run the business.
Yeah.
That's it. It is that little thing that you have this in you that makes you this entrepreneur, and that little thing is very hard to obtain. Let me just
Hmm.
be very very honest with you. Another thing that is
Hmm.
that I see in entrepreneurs, or let's say businesses, is that We hire young, smart, amazing people who are fresh out of the university. They have this hunger to learn. What we do as business leaders, we hire them and we kill them. We kill the
Mm,
creativity, we kill their desire to learn because we just act like a boss, uptight,
mm,
boss. Oh, do this, mechanical 9 to 5. Boom, thank you very much, it's done. What I've done in final rentals is we do not have any concept of attendance. There's no concept of
okay.
time here. Check in, check out, we don't have. You can have a lunch break as long as you like. I honestly don't care what time you come in and what time you go out. It's your company. We don't have a concept of pay cut. There's no salary cut here. You come or you don't come, right? It's your company and
Mm,
you are the entrepreneur of your own job. So your department, you are the entrepreneur. So in my organization, everybody is an entrepreneur and it's our organization, right? I think
mm,
that's where we can build, a better workplace. Why I say making the world a better place, because let's be honest, we spend average 60% of our time of our life at workplace.
yes.
And when we go back to home, we always have those let's say stress making thoughts that, oh, I didn't do that, oh, I should have done that, oh shit. We are still at workplace, by the way,
Mm,
maybe not
mm,
physically. Let's just be honest.
mm,
So work
mm,
is actually ruling our life. So why not
mm.
make it a better place to live then?
Yes, yes, that's it. And I think if we all can bring within our hearts this ability to think that we all can affect each other just by thinking this way. You're working in your space, I'm working in my own. But I think as a collective, as a human collective, even if in our thoughts, when we're sitting alone with ourselves and we have this good thought, like as you said, as an entrepreneur, you're thinking about how to keep on evolving and keep on, because your ideas might be shifting and changing and growing. It doesn't like stay like this is our
Yes.
vision and we follow this, right? And then you would be a businessman. Then if you were doing that, you would be that
Absolutely.
boss. You would be like, listen to me and that kind of guy. But you're not. So just to have that idea of knowing that we are evolving together, and that I think your thinking would have helped really would have helped your people a lot, because during COVID your ideas were already very malleable and very changeable and very flexible, so they wouldn't be having the same issues that other friends might be facing in their workplaces, right?
Yeah, and you'll be shocked to know that during COVID, we had zero salary cuts, no modifications in the payment, no
Mm,
modifications in the team size. We actually grew in COVID. Actually, I hired a couple of more guys in COVID. I didn't fire any, right? And we had no changes in how we work, right?
yeah.
Business was down 98% because locations are closed for car rentals. We didn't do any modifications. We even grew further. And how come? How it happens, because all my people used to come to me and say, "Oh, we got to do more ads. Let's do more ads. Let's do more ads. Let's spend on ads." I told them, guys, let's be more leaner and more organic. We'll get organic traffic because
Mm,
I'm working for you. I'm working
mm,
for you. I'm securing this thing for you, right? So when
mm.
COVID happened and we didn't do anything and we had no layoffs, we even hired more. So a lot of people in my company, they're like, "Oh shit, how on earth you knew about
Yeah,
this?" I'm like,
yeah,
because I'm working for you 24/7. So don't
yeah,
worry, you are in a secure zone. Don't worry about it. Let's just do something awesome every single day. So I think our organization has grown not just in size, not just in the number of transactions, but also has grown in its character. So I see people
mm,
now, they have this thing that, man, I'm working for this organization where we have this character and we can grow further. So I think that drive has grown. So I love that drive now, in the people. And we are now actually onto some really awesome things, when it comes to tech.
yeah. I think it's so important to put what you just said, to put it out there, because it's you'd rather have a human tribe that really feels emotionally, feels connected to your ideas and the way you're doing things, and connects with you as a CEO, rather than just making people feel it, making them follow things, or like doing things by the clock. Because I will just tell you one thing, because I do a lot of this reading and learning on the power of emotions and how that just affects everything in our lives. And I think if at emotion level, these people who are with you, they just naturally feel the inclination to work for this company, then that's what it is. That's how it should be. I'll come back to what I'm trying to also say in terms of what I do as a soul coach. Now, if I wanted to expand, if I wanted to just get anyone to just be a part of my program, there are many ways. You can pay for a lot of program. I mean, these ways of promoting yourself, and you can.
Yes.
I might even do that one day when But right now, where I am, I really, really believe that those who are meant for the coaching will come to you. You just keep showing up in your authentic self. If you do a whole program and nobody shows up, even
Hmm.
if they've made inquiries, it was not meant for them, right? But I would never dwell into the emotion of, oh my God, I ran this whole program, but nobody joined it, or I developed this system. And nobody, because I'm in the beginning of my journey, and I want everyone who joins this journey with me, I want them to come from their heart space, and I want them to come when they do really need the healing. I cannot ask people that I can heal you, come, I will heal you. I can't do that.
Hmm.
Those who need the healing, they'll come to me. And so, what I have done in my space, Ammar, is that I make sure I message the people who are in my list. I get to know them. Anybody who joins me or like they connect with me, I check their profiles. I see who they are. I say hello to them. Even the people who follow my stories every day, I say hello to them. Thank you for following my stories. So I create a little connection with my audience. And it's like I have about 600 people right now, and I'm cool with it. Even when I had
Wow.
100, I was cool with it because
Hmm.
at least I do know who they are, and I know what they're doing, and they know what I'm doing, and I keep in touch with them. So I'd rather have a few who are mine, as in who care about me genuinely, and I care about them, rather than just be in the emotion of want, desire, cannot have. Oh my God, that person. I'm not coming from that space. So I'm so happy to be in that space. And I'm glad to see that you are in that space too. And we need more and more of this as a human collective.
No, no, absolutely. And I think we need to really, put this, forward that let's not be in, in the number game. Rather, we
Mm,
should be, in this, game of quality and, being honest with ourselves. So imagine, if someone has, let's say, 20,000, let's say,
mm,
list of 20K. Imagine, and I don't know anybody in the 20K. So what kind of value
mm,
I'm creating? Nothing, right? So you have this,
mm.
so you have 600 people, and you
Yeah,
speak to them, you talk to them, you actually help
yeah.
them. How much value do you create? Oh my God. I mean, I cannot even calculate that, because you cannot
Mm,
calculate such things, so I think that is
no,
something that you are doing really awesomely, and I really, really love, what you put forward. I think that's a very strong message.
I'm so grateful that, for you and for myself as two people operating in our spaces, I think it's all about, um, I would say it comes to a point in life where you finally start operating as the version of you always thought that you would be, or even better than what you could imagine. And when you are sitting there, you realize that there was a time when you were not here, that you were down there. So once you've been through the opposite of where you are sitting right now, that is why you cherish where you're sitting on right now. Like the chairs we're sitting on, we cherish that we're sitting here, and we are like the soul coach and the entrepreneur and the podcasters that we are, is because we had faced the opposite emotion of all of this somewhere in our lives. Until you don't, that is why negative events are so important to understand, not to forget, but to understand from them is so important. You know how some people, and I've done it too, you somehow say the past is dead, you kill the past or something like that. And I realize that serves no purpose. I realize it's important to go into the past, wherever that problem or whatever that trauma was, where we all go through little things in our lives or big things in our lives. I think none of us get spared in this life. And the idea is to get back into those moments and say, what did that human person, when I was going through that, what was I voicing out at that point which I didn't voice out then? And so when you realize the feelings that you didn't take care of, then somehow, like if a girl was going, like I know a girl who was going through a very bad situation with her relationship and she was stuck in it and she never said a word. But now that she's happy and she's outgoing and everything, I ask her and I said, she says, I speak to my inner child and I tell her, what did she want then? And she wanted safety and she wanted to be loved. So what she does now, she keeps calling her inner child whenever she feels gloomy. She says, I love you, and you're safe. And so it's so important to embrace those negative emotions, to be happy in the moment and know that bad things can still happen, but then at least you'll be at a more aware state. You'll be programming yourself every day to stay so positive that when that negative comes, you know how to behave in a slightly better way than you did in the past. What do you think?
No, I think that is something very, very important. Like you said, that that girl was talking to her inner child and asking, what exactly do you want? And I think that answer is very important, right? The answer that comes
Yeah,
out, right? And I think that can really heal a lot of things, maybe
yeah.
solve a lot of problems also, especially in the head, because sometimes we are just having dealing with a problem in the head, and that
Mm,
problem might not be existing in the reality, right?
mm.
Sometimes we overthink either, or we procrastinate. So i
Yeah.
think i think i think it is very important to strike a balance into this. And I think what you are doing, Salih, I think it's very, very powerful also, because when you're having that session with the person, let's say going through some kind of problem or some kind of a, let's say, mental block, I would say, I think you can
Mm,
really help them out to come out of that vicious circle, or of that ring where that negativity is, right? And when you come out of the ring, you can see the ring and say, oh, now I can see the problem. Because the problem
mm.
is that we try to solve the problem being into that ring. We are still in that problem state, and we try to solve
Yeah.
within that. We just have to come out sometimes. The problem is there. You just
Yes.
come out, and then say, oh, you know what? Oh, now I can see what's going on, and
Mm, mm,
I'll sort it out. That coming
mm.
out is something that is very, very important.
It's so important, Amar, and that's why I preach meditation. And it's not just because I'm saying meditate, it's because when I do it, I realize that's the day I started meditating, I started with 21 days in a row. And on day 21, I was a complete observer of my own life. Like I
Wow,
was sitting down with myself and looking at all the chapters of my life. And I was
amazing.
like, wow, that's why that person behaved like that, because I was behaving like this, and that's why this human did this. And like rather than blaming the other people in life, you start looking within and like, how was I reflecting myself?
Yes,
Who was I then?
you're right.
Because we get so caught up in our egos, Amar, is that then we don't ever, till we don't become that observer, we don't realize that a lot of everything in our lives is to do with our emotions.
Hmm.
Yes, it's to do with the mind, but at a very deep, deep level, we're liquid love, and as I always say, and there's a whole research about it. I'm tending to speak more about the brain in the coming days of my soul coaching, because I realize people do need scientific evidence for things, but there is truth in it. And that's what an embryo is when they are in a mother's body. And then when we come out, we get bombarded with beliefs and ideas and things like, this is how you think, this is how you think. Said, yes, we want to think, but our thoughts can be emotionally charged.
Yes.
So we have to know what emotion is giving us value and what is not, so we can grow in our respective fields.
No, no, absolutely. And I think
Yeah,
that's where someone like you can add so much value, because the problem is a lot of people, they really do not understand how they can think better. This
mm,
improvement of thinking is required. And as simple as possible, if you want to decipher these things going on in your head, and they're making you stressed, for example. I think that's where
mm.
someone like you can add immense value. And I'm sure after hearing this podcast between us, whatever we
Yes,
talk about, it's so funny, because whatever we talk about is what actually we are doing. This collaboration, this
yes,
collaboration is
yes,
actually the crux, that
yes.
how we
Yes.
collaborated. Like, you are sitting in Oz, I'm here in the desert, in the Gulf. Imagine this connection, and we
Yeah.
connect on so many different levels. And I think this whole
Mm,
collaboration
mm.
itself is the answer to what we do, to be honest.
Yeah, I think more and more of us should collaborate. I'm glad that you threw that idea, and I will do something that I do in the end of the podcast that I do usually, and that's like pulling out a card for you, which is
Okay.
called a power thought card. I don't
Oh
think if
wow.
you can see it clearly.
Yeah.
And what
Okay.
they are is just because I am grateful for the fact that you are here present, and that
Oh, thank you.
we
Thank you
have
very
having
much.
this interesting conversation. I hope it brings value to everyone, and we hope, right, Ammar, we hope to come again on a podcast and be able to deliver more of these messages and get to know each
Yes,
other a
of
bit
course.
more
Yeah.
through these podcasts, and get people to listen and hear about more topics that we bring forward. But just to sum this one up, if you give me permission, I
Please.
will give pull out a card for you, which is gratitude for this moment as we sit here today.
Oh my God, that will be really awesome. Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So this is a card which will be a message for you. If it resonates, then you will hold on to this card. These are just positive affirmations which have positivity in them. And they're by Louise Hay, who always talks about positivity. Look her up if anybody wants to learn about healing yourself and to know more about the power of positivity and how it helps us as human beings. So please, universe, please give me a card for Ammar and whatever message Ammar Akhtar needs to hear today. Let's see. I'm not looking because it's a double sided card.
Okay. Sounds really
Okay.
awesome.
So, okay, this is amazing. This has never come up before. I'll just read it to you, but this is just the illustration, okay?
Okay. Go
And
beyond.
there's a
Okay.
back as well, but I'll
Wow.
just read. So just bear with me. It's a long message.
Sure.
It says, "It is my mind that creates my experiences. I am unlimited in my own ability to create the good in my life. It is in my mind that creates my experiences. I'm unlimited in my own ability to create the good in my life." That's one side. And so over
Amazing.
here it says, "I now go beyond other people's fears and limitations." I now go beyond other people's fears and limitations. So
Wow,
you've
that's
basically
such a
gone beyond.
powerful message.
You've gone beyond your own fears and limitations. Now it's your time to go beyond theirs.
Wow.
So yay. So
That's
I'll send you a
amazing.
picture of that
Oh,
so
please
that
do.
you can read it in your
Please
own
do.
time.
Please do. That will be,
Yeah.
a great gift, I would say. And thank you for, for doing this. It is
There's
something that is
64 cards.
really amazing.
64 cards. And this
Wow.
is the probability that came for you.
Wow. Wow. Oh my God. That's amazing. Really. Well,
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I don't have any such, such ritual that you do, at the end of podcast. So,
I
so
always
the
freak
only thing
people
that I
out
do,
with my ritual.
the only thing that I
Yeah.
do is that I just thank them in my, in my own way, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and keeping as simple and minimal as possible. It has been an honor, knowing more about your
Same.
story
Same.
and knowing about
Same.
exactly what you do. And I think what you're doing today is something that people will talk about down the line in few years, and they say, you know what, today I am what I am is because I had this session with this lady, with this girl, and it was powerful. So
I
we never
definitely,
know, how powerful
definitely.
the emotions are. And I think you are really doing something that is so powerful. And I can imagine loads of people needing this today, because we're going through this, ups and downs of
Yeah.
emotions, ups and downs of economic situations, ups and downs in the job, or there's no job. And the world is going
Yeah.
through this paradigm shift that never has been in the last 100 years. We need more people like you.
And we need more people like you. I'm so grateful. Thank you for all those words. I am grateful as well. And I would really say that this has been a tremendous experience in terms of collaborating as well, because I ending the year on the note of doing something new with my podcasting too. So this is new. I like new. And I'm glad we were able to do this together. And I'm glad that it was powerful and that we both had a place today where we could talk about what we thought could bring value to others. So amazing. Thank you so much for
Great.
having me.
Same here. Thank you very much for having me also, and thank you for all those amazing questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you.